Good afternoon, Grant. How are you?
Hi, Chairman Hoffman, thank you very
Thanks.
Good afternoon to the Commission, and thank you for affording me this opportunity to speak today. I myself am disabled and, for the most part, homebound medical patient. I was 26 years old and a graduate student at Boston College, 4 years into a postdoctorate degree studying a quantitative methodology to examine the cogency of public discourse in the context of the backroom deliberations of lawmakers and regulators. So, unfortunately, overnight in May of 2014, my throat began collapsing and my esophagus and airway began penetrating into each other. It affects nerves going into my face and my eye, and so I can't see very well and my face always hurts. In any event, I went through a painstaking 18-month process of hospitalizations, inpatient experiences, and general hell. By the end of that, I was on such a litany of medications that I can't even list them all. But anyway, about 18 months in, one of my doctors realized that things weren't going to get better, and they recommended that I try to use medical cannabis as a way to supplement some of the pharmanarcotics that they were prescribing. And with medical cannabis, over about 6 months, I was able to reduce that dosage by almost a third. And that had a big impact, not only in terms of my quality of life, but also in terms of not being constantly dizzy from the narcotic medications. In any event, because I'm so limited in my mobility, I'm dependent on cannabis caregiver services, and I'm also on Social Security disability. I don't use dispensaries because not only are the fees for delivery exorbitantly high, but some of the menu prices are also exorbitantly high. One dispensary wanted to charge me 40% of my SSDI stipend for 1 month just to get 1 ounce of flour, which is what I consume over the course of a month. And that's just impractical. I would have no ability to get an Uber to my doctor if I were spending that much on my cannabis each month. So I rely on small mom and pop caregiver operations, and I do so because one, they do not charge me a delivery fee. The one I use now waives delivery fees for disabled and homebound patients. Never seen a dispensary do that. And the second is they only charge about $200 per ounce, which is almost a 75% decrease from the retail price of dispensaries. And I think it's imperative that the Commission takes steps to not only protect these caregivers in law who are helping patients like myself that barely have any say in this process due to our physical limitations, but also to expand those protections for caregivers. I heard mentioned earlier the ratio of caregiver to patient. Currently, it's hard for me to even find a caregiver because they're forced to work within the confines of this 1-to-1 limit. And so when I lose a caregiver, it can take me 3 to 4 weeks to find another one, during which I'm using a lower dose of medication than I would be otherwise, and I don't have access to cannabis at a price I can afford. So I implore the Commission to allow these caregivers to operate with effective regulatory oversight that gives them an expanded number of patients per caregiver, that allows them to operate in collectives, that allows them to register with the Commission on an expedited basis without any of the procedural hurdles facing other applicants. These are not money groups. They're small mom and pop operations trying to help patients, especially homebound patients, and they should be given some kind of carve out in the law to enable them to more seamlessly provide those services. Beyond that, the type of care that I receive from a caregiver is not just a commercial sale. Every caregiver I've ever had has come into my home, talked with me about my conditions, and helped me find medication that best serves my needs. And I think it is imperative that the Commission put a focus on that kind of holistic interaction rather than just looking at the commercial and tax elements of the law. I understand it's important. I'm just begging the Commission not to forget the knock-on impact that can happen to patients like myself when these small operations are pushed out of the market due to onerous regulatory burdens. So I appreciate the time of the Commission today, and I would also just leave one final note that the Commission should continue to liaise with the legislature to ensure that the 3% cap on community host agreements is enforced strictly, because to do otherwise further limits access to the market for these small businesses, and thus means there's less competition and higher prices for patients like myself. So thank you.